Okay, what's going on, traders? What's up, tycoons? Today we're going to be looking at Wing Finance, ticker symbol WING, breaking it down for you guys on the daily chart. We're going to go over how to use the MACD, the relative strength index. We're going to take a look at our major retracement levels, and we're going to show how when you combine all of these things together, along with chart patterns, you can give yourself a true edge in the market. Cryptocurrency trading, investing is like going to battle. It's like going to war. You need to have the proper weapons at your disposal and know how to use those weapons properly to give yourself a better chance of succeeding on the battlefield that is the crypto environment, right? In the crypto market. So currently we can see that we're trading in a bearish channel right now, and we're heading lower and lower and really just zigzagging in between this bearish channel. We have our breakout level to the downside right here of 493. If we break 493, then we could head down to 396, 345, and 271. Now up here, these are going to be some of our targets if we do start to get a little bit of bullishness. I want you to pay attention to the relative strength index right now, and we're starting to get a little bit oversold, okay? Now, we'll go over in the past what happens a lot of times when we're oversold. And then, so pay attention to this right here. We just hit oversold on it. All right. We're starting to bounce up a little bit, and we're having a slight recovery in the price of Wing. What we're going to look for here is going to be the red line to cross above the white line. Okay. So if we get our relative strength index hitting oversold, and then we get the MACD buy signal, which is the red line crossing above this white line here, there's a strong possibility we could get a rally. Now, there's three levels, the 38.2, the 50%, and the 61.8% retracement levels that we need to be very aware of and respect. Okay, so basically we're tracking this downtrend, this downtrend, right? I just showed you guys it's a bearish channel. And so these levels let you know whether you're in a retracement for a continuation of that downtrend or whether you're in a reversal. So it would look something like this. We come down, we bounce up. If we get rejected at these three levels and head back lower, there's a strong possibility we're going to come down and continue that downtrend. Now, if we come down and break through these levels, then that's when we can look for a reversal, right? So we break through these levels, then we get a reversal. If we respect these levels, then we're going to retrace back to the downside and continue that trend. Okay. So I just gave you guys the major, breakout levels and bearish support levels. I told you guys what to look for, the MACD curling up above after, the relative strength index just hit oversold. Let's take a look right here, and we can take a look and see what happened actually the last time. So the relative strength index was oversold here. Very shortly afterwards, we got a MACD buy signal, and that's going to be right here. And if we take a look and go ahead and measure that move after the relative strength index was oversold, and then we got a MACD buy signal, we can see we got a very nice push to the upside, about 48%. So that's one example there of combining some of your signals together to help give yourself an edge. All right, now we're going to zoom out a little bit and go back into the beginning of the chart and really just break down how all of these things work and how once you start to combine them and learn what to look for, you can truly give yourself an edge in the market. So where we're going to take a look at right here in the beginning is going to be a bullish pattern known as a falling wedge. So we have a falling wedge right here indicated by these two trend lines. We have a trend line on the top and a trend line on the bottom that we're respecting. We're zigzagging in between this price action. And here we actually get a breakout. Now notice right here at this breakout point, if we go down, we got a MACD buy signal. We see the red line curl above this white line right here. So now we have two things indicating that we could have a strong move to the upside, and we got a very, very strong move to the upside. If you would have used that entry signal right here, okay, very strong push over 100% to the upside. Now, shortly afterwards, we actually create a double top pattern, which is known, it kind of looks like an M pattern as well once it starts to play out. But you see we have a top here, we have a top here, okay? And then we're actually overbought, right? So the opposite of oversold, we're in overbought territory, which is going to be above 70 on the relative strength index. So now we're using some caution, right? Because typically you never want to buy something when it's overbought. That doesn't mean that, the ticker can't go higher and the price can't go higher, but as a general rule of thumb, you don't want to buy something when it's overbought. So we're seeing we're overbought right here. We're seeing that we have a double top forming right here. So now we have two things on our radar saying, hey, we could see some bearish activity. We could see a drop very soon. Well, our third thing right here is going to be a MACD sell signal. And then as you see, as a result, we come down and we get a very sharp move to the downside. Now, remember, I talked about those 38.2, 50%, and 61.8%, those three major retracement levels. Here's a very good example of us retracing and continuing the trend, right? So we have our swing low right here, connected up here to our swing high. We see we get the strong move to the upside. We retrace and look at where we find support, exactly at our 61.8% level, right? We do have this wick that goes down very shortly below, but we close above it, right? That's the very important part. And you can see here, we wick down again and test the support level, and we get a very nice healthy retracement for a trend continuation to the upside, right? And if you take a look, again, we're combining strategies together to give ourselves an edge. Look at what we get right here, okay? Right after we bounce off of our 61.8% retracement level, right after that right here, we end up getting a MACD buy signal. And if you were to use that as an entry, right, then you could have had a very successful trade to the upside. If we go ahead and take a look at the measured move, all right, it was over, 189%, even went up higher afterwards, right? And here, we're just tracking more of the retracements happening again, and we're seeing that we get the move to the upside, right? So we're tracking our swing low down here now up to our new swing high. We see we come down, we retrace. This time we hold the 50% retracement level and get a strong move to the upside. And look what happens again. We pull back, right? We hit our retracement level, and then very shortly afterwards, we get the MACD buy signal. Let me drag this down just a little bit so it's a little more clear. And you can see that, using multiple strategies together to give yourself an edge is going to be a lot more better than really just kind of buying blindly or only using one strategy the whole entire time. It may seem complex, but once you start to, learn these strategies more and, watch some of these videos, you'll see how time and time again, you can put multiple things together to help give yourself more confidence in your trade, right? So we come down here, we hold the retracement level right here, we get our MACD buy signal, and then we get a strong push to the upside. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is that we're actually overbought. We get a head and shoulders pattern forming, and we get a MACD sell signal. Okay. So right over here, if you take a look, we're overbought now. All right. We're hitting new highs. It's very, you want to be very cautious trying to buy up here at new highs when everything is overbought. Okay, so now you're using caution. You're saying, hey, well, there's a possibility we could get a pullback here because things were overbought and we've been overbought on the relative strength index. Right here, you end up getting your MACD sell signal, and we can take a look at that move. And it was a very sharp move to the downside over 50, let's just call it 54%. And sure enough, what do? We get a nice little bounce. All right, but we bounce up to our major retracement levels and get a rejection. So at this point, what we've done is we've established a left shoulder. We established our head up here, and perhaps we even caught this move to the downside, shorting it, or perhaps we protected our trade at these levels because we saw a couple sell signals on the relative strength index and the MACD. All right. Well, over here, we're taking our swing high, measuring the swing low. We see we come down, we retrace up to our 50% retracement level. And at this point, we establish a right shoulder. So now we know that, all right, well, we're rejecting our 50% retracement level. So most likely we're going to continue this downtrend, right? Just like on the upside, when you're finding support at your 50% retracement level, we continue the uptrend and we get a nice, buy signal. We had a buy signal right here on the MACD. All right, in this case, we're coming down, retracing, making a right shoulder. So now we know we have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. We have a very clear head and shoulders pattern. And then shortly after that, we end up getting a MACD sell signal, right? So now that's three things combined together to give ourselves an edge and give ourselves more confidence. From the MACD sell signal to the move down was another very sharp move down over 60%. Now from there, what we do is we actually make a bear flag. So here's our bear flag. Is you have your flag pole. It's going to be this sharp move to the downside, and then your flag is going to be this channel right here. Once you break the bottom of this channel, you're going to have another sharp move to the downside. Now, coincidentally or not so coincidentally, as soon as we get the break of that MACD of this trend line right here, we also get a MACD sell signal. And we can take a look again, and another sharp move to the downside, this time 40% from there to the bottom was about 40%. So another sharp move. If you would have put 10 grand in here trying to catch support on this trend line and you weren't looking at the MACD sell signal, you could have just lost $4,000 as it dropped 40% and most likely panic sold. Not saying you would have, but I know a lot of people will panic sell in those instances. Now, if we take a look, what happens is it recovers very sharply and very quickly. And what we see is that the RSI is oversold. So over here, we're touching 30, get a heading slightly below 30, right? Then very shortly afterwards, we get a MACD buy signal, and we see the red line cross above the white line. And we take a look at that measured move right there from the entry off, first looking at this as your first signal, and then you want to find 2, 3, 4 things to align together to give yourself more confidence. You don't want to just go off the first signal every single time. You want to wait for things to line up and paint a better picture for you. You may not capture as much of a move, but you'll be much more efficient in catching smaller moves, right? And once you can make consistent small gains, then those things will compound on themselves eventually and start to really add up. So we see here, you get the MACD buy signal right here. We get a nice push up 76%, and then ultimately it goes up about 100% right there. All right. Now over here, what are we doing again? We're using some of the same strategies, some of the same signals. Okay. Right here. In fact, we are overbought, right? So we're overbought right here. We know that this is a time to be cautious. We're overbought right at these levels. Over here, we end up getting a MACD sell signal. Okay. And we do get a nice drop to the downside. Not as significant, but if you take a look, still pretty significant, about 18% to the downside. Okay. Now the next thing I want to highlight is something known as bearish divergence. Okay. And so a divergence is going to be when the token is doing one thing and the relative strength index is doing another. So notice how we have a high right here, and then we have a higher high right here. So clearly this token is in an uptrend, right? We're going higher, creating higher highs. But if we take a look at our relative strength index, we have a high at this point, and then we have a lower high on the relative strength index at this point. That's a bearish divergence. It's an indicator that you may see some bearish activity in the future. And then very shortly afterwards, we get a MACD sell signal right here. Okay, so now we see that we have a bearish divergence. That's our first signal. And then we see that we have a MACD sell signal as well. And that ended up resulting in a much sharper drop than the previous 18% move that we looked at. If we take a look here from the highs to the lows, all right, that was a very significant drop, about 55%. So, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new. We'll go ahead and look back at some of the recent price action, and just so you guys can remember, the current levels that we need to be watching. All right, we have this bearish channel to the downside that we've been trading in. We've really just been zigzagging in between this channel. If we break below 493, there's a strong chance we could head down to 396, 345, and 271. But we recently were oversold on our relative strength index, and we're going to be looking to see if we can get a MACD buy signal. All right. Again, the buy signal is going to be this red line crossing above the white line. We already got our first signal that we could be entering a position here because we were oversold. Last time we were oversold and then got a MACD buy signal. We went on a 40% rally to the upside. We rejected our 38.2 retracement level, which is at 844. So, we're still going to be watching these major levels up here. All right. If we do get that buy signal, then we know we need to be cautious once we start to come up and approach these levels, because unless we break through these levels, right, unless we break through them, we're going to have the downtrend retracement and continuation to the downside. But if we break through them, that's when we can look for a reversal. Okay, so smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. This video was actually a viewer request. So if you want to see your ticker in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. And I think you're going to enjoy one of these next two videos as well. So make sure to click on one of those.